Welcome back. Now, coming out or disclosing your identity as a member of the LGBTQ community can be difficult, as many experience feelings of fear, anxiety and worry of rejection or disappointment.
Joining us now with advice on coming out to your loved ones is psychologist Alison Keating. Good morning to you, Alison.
Morning.
How are you?
Good morning, Alison.
Good.
Today we're celebrating Pride, a very important day for many, and in fact we had a member of the Pride community on last week. He was the manager of the festival. He said it was 23 years, obviously, since the decriminalisation, and he remembers the day very well. So it's an emotional day for many too. And I suppose this morning we're talking about coming out that first time to your friends and your family. But first of all, talk to us about sort of the history of coming out and how upsetting it's been in the past for people and stressful.
I mean, we have come so far in Ireland, we really have. But at the end of the day, it's an individual decision that everybody has to actually make. So when that one person has to go and talk to their parents or to their friends, it's huge. It's taken years and years to come to that decision to actually tell people. And what's most interesting is we have this idea that coming out is a once-off process. But it isn't. It's cyclical. It goes on throughout the whole span of your life. So say you come out to your parents, but then you might have actually come out to work, or you move to a different location. There are so many different times in your life where you have to... And each time, those stresses, those fears, those worries, they come up for people. So, I mean, for so many people, and also, it's interesting as well that obviously the age is dropping now in terms of, it used to be more kind of like people in their late adolescence, but now younger and younger people are actually coming out. So that's a very mentally challenging thing to do when you're quite young.
Why do you think that is, Alison? Is that because there is greater acceptance?
I think there is, as I'm saying, there is greater acceptance on paper, and we can see people out celebrating today, and it's wonderful. But as an individual experience, it is a huge stressor, you know, and it really can inhibit people from disclosing, and especially if you have a sense of how this will be accepted within your friends, within your family, you know. So that sense, that worry of not just social fear and rejection, but parental rejection, that's the key one where people are slower.
We want to get to people who are maybe going through that thought process of coming up to the process of coming out. But what are the common things that they would be feeling prior to that?
You know, it's really interesting. It's described as a roller coaster of emotions. So there's one day when the person is, they've gone through the questioning phase, and they have come to a sense of acceptance in themselves and say, yes, I am gay, this is who I am, or all the different aspects of owning their own sexual identity. Then and then, only then, can you actually start to come out to the parents. But the roller coaster is, one day you're like, I'm so excited, this is a new life, I'm going to be able to be just who I am with my family and friends. And then the next day it's like, oh my God, thank God I didn't come out, you know. So it's a total roller coaster of emotions before you come out. And it can be very lonely, you know, because a lot of times if you haven't actually come out to your family, you are actually pretending to be somebody else. You are trying to fit into, you know, the kind of the more... the stereotype of who you think you should be. So that level of isolation is a very worrying and anxious time for people. It's a
fundamental change on who you are in terms of how the outside world, outside your own head, perceives you.
Yes.
And you have a list of questions, or a couple of questions that maybe it's worth asking yourself before you go through the coming out process.
Because I think coming out it's a wonderful challenge, but it's also extremely complex. And in terms of the stressors and in terms of the impact on mental health, I mean, you know, when we look to mental health, you know, for this, people experience 3 times more mental health issues. So, you know, the question is, you do have to actually ask, well, why am I actually coming out?
I found that a really interesting question. Why are you coming out? But then chatting to friends just in the office the other day, and we're all having this conversation, somebody pointed out, well, actually, the assumption is that you're straight.
Yes.
So a lot of the time you might think people know, but they may not know.
Yes.
And so it might be shocking to many people, perhaps not close family and friends, but your wider community and people that are important to you. And that in itself is quite stressful.
Absolutely.
That somebody's perception of you may change within 5 minutes of having that conversation.
Well, it's just that fear of you know, rejection, which goes to the heart. I mean, when we look to rejection, there's been studies now where they have, you know, functional MRIs, and they actually show that rejection is felt as physical pain. And you know, this is rejection that can be said to their face. I mean, people can be openly, anti kind of LBGT, openly so. So, it's not just a case of I'm worried about this. And if we come down to it, when we think about the rainbow, in a way it is a safe zone that you know that you will be accepted, because for many people, as you say, in terms of this historically, people have been hurt. The question is, am I actually going to be safe?
What do you say to people now who are really worried about how their family, their friends, people they've known all their lives are actually going to react to them? How do you deal with that worry, or how do you prepare people for what you're about to tell them?
I think it's a really great idea always just like the questions that we ask, why am I coming out? Who am I going to come out with? These are your choices, because some people may be out with their family for 10 years, but they mightn't have actually told other people. That's your choice as well. You have a choice. And when we think about Gay Pride today and everyone's like, we're celebrating it, we don't have to celebrate being straight because it's accepted.
And there are helplines out there. You're saying to get informed, go online, talk to others. So I suppose prepare yourself emotionally.
And the core one is you unfortunately can't control the reaction that you get, and it seems to be quite varying. So for some, say with your parents, it can be very accepting, and the parents are like, we knew all along, and it's such a relief when the person actually has done that. But then there's the other side, where there can be quite a shock, and the parents reject.
Because you said, we've come a long way, and we absolutely have. But since the marriage ref, there may be the perception that, we're not a homophobic country anymore. Of course, there are going to be levels of homophobia everywhere. And so with that in mind, and all of the social media pressures, because you'd see these coming out videos on social media and think, they're all lovely, and there's such lovely stories. But real life isn't like that.
But when we looked at the stats, so when there's parental rejection, when the parents don't actually accept it, and I suppose we have to step back from that and understand that sometimes parents can have very strong views about that they want their son or daughter to fit in with it's their own fears and prejudices, and they don't actually understand. But we have to understand if their intention often is, what is this going to mean for the rest of their life? So there's a grieving process, that they're also going through. However, in terms of mental health, you're 8.4 times more likely to have attempted suicide if there's parental rejection. You're 6 times more likely to experience depression. You are 3 times more likely to kind of take illegal drugs, and 3.4 more times more likely to engage in unprotected sex, which I thought was very interesting, because there's kind of such a high level of risk in that, in terms of just saying, I don't care about myself. Yeah. So the parents who did accept, those stats were completely different.
Is the message then, I guess, even if you fear a negative reaction, you have to prepare yourself for whatever the reaction might be.
Yes.
And do all that work beforehand. We want to get to the other side, though, which is for parents or friends of people who are being told this news.
Yes.
Just some ways of dealing with it. How should you conduct that conversation, or how should it go? In
terms of parents, if I could get one thing across today, it's that when your child or your adolescent comes out to you, or your adult, child, be aware that it's taken them a very long time to do this, and that they are still your son or daughter. They are the same person before they disclosed who they actually are to you 5 minutes beforehand. The core aspect of this is to be accepted by your parents, and that is, when I'm thinking about families, it's about that attachment, it's about that connection. So if that connection is broken, it is that parental rejection. It strikes very hard at their mental health. So just allow yourself, before if some words want to fly out of your mouth, just be thoughtful and be like, let me just take this on board. Before you speak, think about it. It's a very heightened time, and it may come as a shock for some parents, but just to kind of sit with it and to kind of let it sink in as well.
It's important to note there may be parents out there whose belief system has been really challenged by this news.
Oh, 100%.
So that, that has to be dealt with as well.
And there is respect on both sides. So it's just about recognising how can, they're literally their whole worldview, and as I say, their belief system, and that's what families are. They have sets of norms. This is the way our family are. So for some people, it's about how it is for them, how it is within their religious system, but also how they think other people will react. But that's when you have to go back to yourself as a parent and go and question, why is this bringing up so much for me?
I mean, you have to do your own thinking about that.
Yes.
One final thing, because we're right out of time, I thought it was a really interesting idea. You touched upon it earlier, is that the idea of coming out is not just a one-off event.
No.
It's a lifetime process. It's if you move to a new job or a new city or a country, or even just meet new people. It's almost happening all the time. Is that fair to say? Absolutely.
And I suppose what we come out of today is that you can grow through the coming out process. And each time is an opportunity for you to kind of get as much support from friends, from family, from professionals, you know, to support you in that process, because it is a very vulnerable time.
And the loneliness goes when your loved ones
Absolutely. If you feel
the burden,
accepted, I mean,
if
we
that's what you
all
feel it
want
is.
to be accepted.
Yeah.
That's the core of us as human beings. We want to be connected and to feel accepted.
And you
So
don't want to keep a secret like that from your close friends and family. You want to
Exactly.
live your best life and enjoy yourself. And...
being your authentic self, that's the way to happiness.
OK, and it does get better.
Absolutely.
Great stuff, Alison.
Alison,
Some great
thanks
tips
so
there
much
today.
for joining us this morning.
Right, still to come, BBC Radio 1 DJs Greg James and Chris Smith will be here.
Plus a rainbow Swiss roll in the kitchen and the best outdoor games to play in the sun. Stay with us.